Welcome back, everybody, to another ACN mix tutorial. Thank you for joining us. I'm ACN, and I'm here to show you how I mixed this vocal. Good friend of mine, Corey Z from Dallas, Texas, had a beautiful idea to sing an old, beautiful hymn worship song from back in the day, and he did a great job. I had the opportunity to be part of this, did the music, did the mix, sang with him, felt like we was back together for a while for that moment, and for God's glory, song came out great. But let's dive straight into the vocal. Let's look at the vocal chain. Let's look at the process and look underneath the hood and see how do we get the vocal to sound the way it does. Let's take a listen first to the track in context. Here we go.
When I look into your holiness, when I gaze into your loveliness, when all things that surround becomes a shadow in the light of you.
Amazing job, Corey, if you're watching. God bless you, brother. You did a beautiful, beautiful job for the glory of God. Okay, let's move forward. What's going on underneath the hood here? What are we doing? EQs, compressors, and reverbs. And once again, was there a delay? And people ask those questions all the time. Well, I'm going to show you what I did in this song. I don't mix every vocal the same. We don't always choose the same EQs or the EQ moves or frequencies. We go based on the voice, based on the song. Let's look at Corey's voice. If you notice right over here where the arrow is, this is Corey. I named it Corey so we can know where it is and for your eyes to see as well. This is Corey's voice. We're going to look at the EQ once again. The Mix Hub SSL 4000, Chris Lord Alge's version of the 4000 series. And we are adding in the 12K region, we are adding 7 dB even. Nothing going on here in the high mids. I cut out about, let's see, in the 800s. In the low mids, I cut out just under 2 dB. And I am boosting 100 hertz in the lows at 8 dB. I done a high pass filter at 80 hertz. I don't always high pass. And a word of advice to everybody who's listening, don't become religious and make it a routine that you gotta high pass everything. Sometimes it's okay to have that warmth. It's okay to have what the original track has. But the reason why I high passed is because there was something there. There was some low end. Maybe he got too close to the mic. Remember, a good mix always starts with a good recording. That's nobody's fault. It happens. Here's what happened in this song with this vocal. Maybe Corey got too close to the mic. Maybe that's the sound I'm going for. I wanted to cut out 80 hertz. So you make that decision. Just don't always cut too much, especially when there's an instrument and vocals that require some weight to it. You can make all these moves, but you can always add the 800 hertz back over here in the low mid. You can always add that frequency by cutting it out but boosting it here. But I chose to because there was some rumble that I didn't like and we had to get rid of it. So this is what's going on in the EQ world. Let's watch the meters. I'm using Teletronics UAD compressor, Teletronics LA2A, one of the most popular vocal compressors. Once again, people ask me, what is your vocal compressor? I don't use 1176 all the time because the 1176 is actually a faster aggressive compressor. And I didn't want to do that for this one because I worship you. It's very slow. So this is, probably 1 millisecond of release time and the attack and everything is built in. And I just like the way it hits. So let's see if the meter is doing anything in the verses.
When I look into your holiness, when I gaze into your loveliness,
All right, so we're hitting almost 2 dB of compression and in the verses. Let's see what happens in the chorus.
And I worship you. And I worship you.
Beautiful. Pay attention to the meter.
The reason I live.
Barely hitting 3 dB of compression. I love this compressor. Now, if you was using 1176 and you didn't, which that's fine. That's a great compressor. It's one of my favorites. I'll use it for maybe when the vocals got faster lyrics or something, or the melody is moving quicker. But this thing right here, or I should say this baby girl, whatever it might mean to you, it's warmth, it's quality, but also it's hitting in the right place. It's not squashing the transients. It's not squashing his voice. Some of the biggest mistakes ever made. We're just going to squash this thing. Well, that's fine. Get some compression going. I always make sure I watch. I'll pay attention to what I'm doing over here with this compressor. See this guy right here? I'll get this Teletronics while I'm mixing and make sure I listen to the whole song, especially in the choruses when the voice gets a little bit louder. I want to see what's going on here. How hard is this thing compressing? And I want to make sure that it might be doing something in the verses when it's very subtle. I want to hit 1 dB, maybe a little over 1 dB in the verses, depending on the song, and maybe just stay under 3 dB of compression when the vocal starts to hit a little bit harder. I thought that was great. It moved well. It's not about what it looked like, but it's what it sounded like. You can tell it was so natural. It didn't sound like it was a robot doing it. It was awesome. I loved it. I hope you did as well. Pay attention, rewind, pay attention to the meters, use your ears, number one. You can do this as well. So let's see what is the parallel compression, what's going on here. If you look at the main vocal, I'm sending it to the mix bus right here. This is the mix bus, which is all the way down here in the middle. Mix bus, that's where all the audio is being routed to. And Corey's voice is also being sent to parallel aux or bus, which is right here. It's called V bus. And remember, it's not being sent there like we did with the drums. We're doing like we did with the drum boost. If you watch the last video, I'll leave the link at the bottom, or at the end of the video, I'll leave that link so you can watch that as well. This is parallel, meaning I add it there, and I have the ability to raise that. So let's see what's going on there. I'm not EQing first. I'm compressing first, and let's see what's going on with the meters on an SSL bus compressor. Let's see what's going on here.
And I worship you. And I worship you.
It's hitting right under 4 dB of compression. There is, let's see, 10 milliseconds. In the attack, fastest release, 2-to-1 ratio, which is the compression, the amount of compression, not using the analog button because it might bring some hiss that we don't want. Sometimes it does that. It all depends. But this compressor in the parallel, even though it's hitting, it looks like, and that is a very aggressive compressor, by the way. This thing is mostly made for drum buses or guitar buses, or even mastering a whole track, or put it on your mix bus or your master, however you decide that. This is a very aggressive plugin, or I should say gear in general, if it was the real one sitting on the console on an SSL. This sits on the console of an SSL. Very aggressive, but because it's in parallel, and it's not being added directly to Corey's vocal, it's in parallel mode, it's not going to give me the full amount. It's like if I'm controlling right here with the main fader of the bus and the V bus, how much I want. Even though she's past 0 dB, it's not really, your eyes are seeing more compression than what your ears are hearing. So what am I doing with EQ after that? I'm adding a Pultec, which is a tube style EQ, and I'm boosting 60 hertz right here at just a little over 4 dB of 60 hertz, nothing going on with the attenuation. And I'm boosting right here in 8K at about almost 6 dB of 8K, giving it some shine. And even though we would think 8K is very clashy or has such an like maybe aggressive EQ, on this tube compressor, it comes out very smooth, not as gritty, or not as not as much shine as you would get out of the SSL, because this is a not compressor, but tube EQ. So here's what happens when we play it, and I'm gonna bring down, just like I did with the drum tutorial, I'm gonna bring down the V bus right here, and this is what it sounds like without it. You hear more reverb because why? The dry effect is taken away, and this is also another reason why I do this with pretty much all my vocals, because I'll get more of the dry effect than I would from here. That when I add the reverbs are not so much in the front. I don't like mixing with reverbs like that, and well, maybe due to the song, but this one is not one of those songs where we want the big hall effect. I want that effect in the background, and I want the dry effect of the vocal in the front. So watch what happens when I feather this in, just like I did with the drums, with the drum boost in the last tutorial I did. On one of the tutorials I did on how to use parallel or bus or auxes for your drums. So here's what it sounds like.
And I worship you.
Let's do that again. Listen. Don't.
I live is to worship you.
Very good. So that's what that's for. And you've paid attention, if you pay attention right over here, all of this on the harms, it says harms, so that's the harmony bus. Everything is being sent here. But even though all this is the harmonies right over here, look at that. This is what I call them. So we got highs, we got mids, we got lows, and we got B low, because that's the bass. I had nothing else better to call it. So whatever, that's what my IC, that's what I recognize it to be. It's all being sent here to the harms bus, and right here, and the input and the output's being sent to the mix bus. But I'm adding the same, which is 0, if you pay attention right here. Same parallel, it's all in 0, and I feather this in and get that effect even in the harmonies. And that's how we did that. So what I want you to see is what's going on with the reverbs. I'm using the Rev 6000, and it's on Hiss, which is one of my presets, which I always say I only save presets and effects. And I am not using any pre-delay. We're adding some 12K shine to it, this is my preset. That the K is on a 4.5, and we're using that as our vocal verb. It's on hiss mode. Now, here's what I did. The vocal verb just says vocal verb, but there's another hiss coming all the way from where the drums usually are, because remember, I use this reverb palette, which is hall, short, hiss, and plate. This is an instrument bus. All the instruments this is a parallel instrument bus. All these reverbs, I'm choosing one of these here, because I always choose an extra reverb for the vocal. And I'm blending the two. This is the vocal verb, which is right here, the Rev 6000, and this is the hiss. Now, what reverb is on the because it's called hiss all the way back here, is True Verb from Waves plugins, and it's on my hiss mode as well. So you can get a blend of your reverbs on your vocal, and you can mix it like that as well, and you can add more. I control the plate on there. Control the hall and get a blend. We're not going to blast them, but blend them together. So same thing like I did in the reverb tutorial with the drums. you can do that with your vocal and get a good blend. And you use your parallel, uh, compression or EQ or just the bus itself to get more of a dry effect, more in the front, so the reverbs will stand in the back. Now, everybody was listening to this recently, and somebody asked me what type of delay did you put on there? I didn't put no delay. If you notice, I didn't show you no delay. All I have is EQs, compressors, and 2 reverbs. It's just that I think most likely it's the Rev that's doing that. The Rev 6000, and there's no pre-delay. It's just this setting right here, because I took this Eternal Hall and made my own preset around it, and it's throwing out like this delay, and just blending the 2 reverbs right up over here. They're just sending that effect. So I think it sounds great. If you think it sounds great, you can get your own blend as well. So not to take up too much time, looking under the hood of the song and also of the vocal, that's how I got the vocal to sound like that. So, however, I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Once again, like I always say, if you know someone that needs direction in this area, remember, we're not, you can look at the presets. Well, it's not a preset, it's what I've done for Corey's voice. Yeah, we always cut out some 500 or 800 or whatever frequency that don't match the vocal, and you can use high pass filtering and or low pass filtering. That's fine, but this can be a starting point to to get some clarity and to get some shine out of any vocal, which I always recommend, because you don't want them to be muddy. But take that, work on that, even snapshot the pictures, the compressor. That's just, it all depends based on the threshold, how much you bring up or bring down the threshold to get some compression. However, it's up to you, my friends. So I pray that God will bless your mixes, and I hope that you learned something today. And stay tuned for more tutorials, and subscribe, leave me a comment, let me know if there's something else that you want to see be mixed. We're going to get into guitars, we're going to get into bass, we're going to get into other things and some other tricks that I have up my sleeve on how to get this done, and some of the tricks of the studio and some previous stuff you heard in the past that I've done, and I'll explain it. That's why we have this channel. So subscribe. Thank you for stopping by. God bless.